You thought that was a greeting, right? No, it's actually about this right here. This is the AOHi 280W GaN Plus Charger, and plus it is a greeting. Yes, AOHi, how you doing? And we're going to take a look at this. We're also going to take a look at the USB-C 4.2 cable that they brought with us. And of course, we're going to set this on the desk. We're going to charge a few things. We're going to test it out and see why you need this next on Geekazine. What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine, Think Magazine, Put in a Geek. This is the AOHi 280W GaN Plus Charger. It's a smart charging desktop charger. It connects up to your Wi-Fi. It allows you to charge USB-C. It allows you to charge USB-A. And of course, it's using the PD 3.2 GaN charging technology, so you can charge multiple devices all through here. Whether it be a laptop or a tablet or a phone or whatever, you have the ability, as long as you don't go over that 280-watt maximum port. With 4 USB-C ports, 2 USB-A ports, using the C1 PD 3.2, which also means that you have a turbo mode inside here. So if you need a quick charge for a laptop, for a tablet that can allow doing that, then this will do that. So let's go ahead, let's get it unboxed, let's look at it, and of course get some stuff on here to charge, and then give you some pros and cons at the end. But before we do that, I do have to mention that AOHi did send me this product, and they are sponsoring this video, but all opinions are that of Geekazine. Go over to geekazine.com/review to find out more information. Let's take a look at this. Just like other 280-watt GaN chargers, you have the ability to charge a lot of different devices, and we talked about that for a second, from MacBooks to other laptops. Of course, the laptop does have to be able to charge through the USB-C port. The only other exception is if you have a cord that actually does USB-C to, like, MagSafe charging or anything like that. If you've got a laptop that has that ability, then this will do this. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about a 96 watt or a 64 watt like a MacBook Air versus a MacBook Pro. This will charge it and keep it going. Once again, as long as you don't get over that 280-watt limit. Let's go ahead and open this up. Yeah, a little magnetic there. I love those boxes. There we go. What we have in here is we have our accessory box, which we'll take a look at in a second. And we have the AOHi right here. Also in the box, we have all the documentation that you need for what you're doing. Now we're going to need a cable for the AOHi, and that's where this comes in. Let's take a look at this cable really quick. It's a 1 meter 4.2 USB-C cable, C to C, so it works well with Thunderbolt 5 devices. If you have a Mac or a PC with Thunderbolt 5, this will pass up to 80 gigabits per second, which means that if you've got some hard drives, you got some of those Thunderbolt 5 drives that are running for Thunderbolt 5, this is a little bit longer of a cable than what you normally get with those. So you could actually attach this to there, or a docking station, give you a little bit more length so you can put it in different places. This is just a charger, by the way. So if you're going to need something that's going to pass data, then you're going to need a dock for that. But if you just need raw power, that's where this comes in. And the best part is it has such a low profile on your desktop. So let's go ahead and give this an open. There it is right there. Let's take a look at it over the overhead. Yeah, it's just basically in this, it's a rubber case. So if you're using this to do any type of travel, like I might be doing some flying next week, and I could actually have this in my bag. So I'm going to keep that by. We'll just pull that out. And there's the cable right there. As you can see, the AOHi cable. It's basically USB-C to USB-C cable. And of course, they say that it does 80 gigabits per second. We'll definitely test that. But it's also about the power, because if you have PD 3.2 charging on a charger like this, you want to have a cable that can handle that high-speed charge, and that's where a cable like this will come in. So it looks pretty good, straightforward. Let's go ahead and set that to the side. We're going to set this to the side, and then of course we're going to get the box out of the way. Another thing we need to do is take a look at this accessory box and see what's in here. So let's do that now. Open that up and just it's most likely just the cord to plug it in. And yeah, that's what it is. Of course, we've got a US plug. It's non-grounded plug, which is interesting. And of course, we've got just basically the 2-prong port right there. So, and nice Velcro strap on there. to get that corded in, and the plug will be in back. We'll take a look at that in a second. Let's take a look at the device here. We've got a little bit of tape to take off first, so let's go ahead and do that. We got that front display. Notice that the USB, they all have their yellow ports on the inside. Yellow ports mean either high power delivery connection or always on, which means that in most cases, let's say this is a laptop, if you close the laptop, the port would still be on so you can actually charge the device. Same thing here, even though it doesn't look like it's on, it's always ready to charge. And that's what these plugs mean through USB 3.2. We'll see the display up here once we have this plugged in. On this side, we have two USB-A ports. They are yellow, so that means always on. It's probably going to charge only at USB-A speeds. The button right here is the Wi-Fi connect button, so you can connect up your device, your phone. So when you're away, when you're at home and you don't want things to charge or you want to see where the charge status is, then you can connect via Wi-Fi through the app, and that's for Android and iOS. On the back, we have the plug itself. So that's this guy right here, and we will plug that in a minute. And then on this side, it just says Future AI 280 watt GaN Plus. And I think these are vents, nothing on the bottom that I see, but we do have all the information on the bottom of what this will charge, and everything from USB-A to USB-C to the PD 3.2 tech. The other thing that I noticed is the weight on this. I mean, we're talking a couple pounds. It's definitely got some weight to it, so it will not shake around. Of course, with the rubber feet, it will not move around too much. If you pull a cord, it's kind of hard to kind of nudge back and forth. So with that, you will not be pulling this thing off the desktop unless you really yank at a cord. Don't yank at a cord, by the way. Now that we've seen this guy, let's go ahead and plug it in. Let's see how this front display goes, and then we'll start plugging stuff in. We're going to get ready to plug this in, and this is going to be a little taut, so maybe we will be testing that, what I talked about with the pulling of the device, and it's staying right where it is. You notice that it had a nice little on and off screen, and then here it is. We've got the screen right here. It is not a touch screen by any means, but it's going to display everything that you need to know. Once again, we have the Wi-Fi button on the side. We go to press that, and that's going to tell us some more information about this. For instance, it's telling us that nothing's plugged in, 0 watts. We've got USB 1, we got USB 2, USB 3, USB 4. And if I press this button again, the first USB-A and the second USB-A. And it's telling us that it's going to charge at 5 volts, whereas with these guys, they're only showing zeros right now until we plug something in. Once again, we can't touch the screen, but we have the ability with that button on the side. Also on the side here, it's telling us the charging power. It's telling us the temperature of this device at 24 Celsius, which is about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, if it gets above 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 50 Celsius, then we'll start worrying about that. You'll basically just have to unplug something, let it cool down a little bit. But we've got this built-in temperature sensor, which is great. It's going to tell us a lot about how we charge our devices. Next up, we have our standby display selection and our charging secure scenario. Although you can't control it from here, I'm guessing once you get it attached to the app, then you'll be able to control it from there. So that is the settings that we have on here. Once again, we're at 0, but let's go ahead and grab that app and get that connected up to here. This is the app right here. I'm on an iPhone 12 iOS 27 beta right now. So as you can see, it can work from there. We're going to hit add device, and I'm hoping that it's going to find it through the search. It's going to ask for locations. I'm always say while using the app, and then I'll allow Bluetooth devices, and look at that. It finds it right there. We'll go ahead and select that. We've got right here. Notice how it just showed the time, which is great. It says it only supports 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and I've been seeing that with some of the other GaN chargers. It doesn't have a 5 gigahertz option. So if you don't have 2.4 gigahertz enabled on your router, you're going to have to enable that. Sometimes it's best to also set up the guest network at 2.4 gigahertz and let it run off of that. That way you can keep things as separate as possible. But I'll just connect it up to my regular, because I have a Wi-Fi 6 device. I'll connect it up to that. And then it's going through the process, basically connecting to the router, registering the device, and connecting to the IoT service right there. And with that, it basically went and finished that up. Of course, it's going to depend on your internet connection, how fast it works for you. But it looks like we've got the charging station all set up. So now we can choose the charging station. It says there's a new version available. We'll update that later. And a new module, we'll update that later. But you can see now we have a better idea of all the plugs in here. We're in smart mode. We can switch to turbo mode. And of course, we got custom mode. So that with the custom mode, we can say, okay, with C1, charger 1, we want to have more power coming to there and to the less devices. So we scroll down here a little bit and we can turn on and off the port settings. We're just not going to do that. We can say remote power on and off, and then of course the device information that it knows. We've got the custom. We got all customization options and firmware and all the other settings through here. So we get the network information, usage data, and a lot more. And of course, we can do a factory reset down there. Let's go back up here. So if we let's just go back to smart mode. We're not going anything major. We can go through the ports. And like I said, if we want to turn off, let's say we want to turn off USB-A, we just do that, confirms, and then we're good to go. We're going to leave that on. We can see the temperature right here, although it's in Celsius, and maybe the firmware update will allow us to switch. But we do have settings up on top, and it says device information, module information, and MCU version. We can hit device information. It's going to tell you my Wi-Fi network and the MAC address, so I'm not going to do that. We can also rename this. So we can call this desktop. Ow. Hi. I like saying that. AOHi. Anyway, so now we've got that set up as desktop AOHi, and that's transferred over to here. We've noticed that it's now got the time set correctly, which is correct, 12:19 as of this recording. So we're good to go. We're connected up to the network. We got their settings. The only thing that I don't know how to do just yet is to change that temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Doesn't bother me too much because I understand the difference between the two, and I can get a good idea. Like I said, it's about 73, 74 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 degrees Celsius. And that's well within the parameters right here. This thing doesn't even feel warm at all. So once we start seeing about 50 Celsius, then we start to worry. With that said, with that done, let's go ahead and get something charging on this thing and see how well it does. Okay, here we got the devices that I'm going to be using to connect to the AOHi. We're going to start with my MacBook Air, and I had to really work at getting the battery down. It's technically down to like 39%, I think it is now. Yeah, 44%, excuse me. So that's going to be on the Apple cable in here as we go. I got my iPad. It was down to 18%, but then I plugged it into the MacBook Air so I could drain this battery more. And of course, it charged that battery a little bit. That's at 42%. I've got my Samsung Tab, Galaxy Tab. This is an S9 model, and I just drained the battery. I think it's down, yeah, 2%, it says right there. We've got an Android phone. This is the Asus Zenfone 7 that is completely dead. We've got my OBSBot Tail 2, which I drained down. And then this is the DJI Pocket camera, which I also drained down to nothing. And what we're going to do is we'll note the time, and then we'll see how that all works as it's charging back up. So we're going to start by putting in each cable, and of course we have this 4.2. This will probably plug into my iPad, since that's probably the best charge option there. We're going to start to see this. We're seeing that at about 31 watts. So next up out of this whole thing is, let's do the USB-A's first. So I have two C to A cables. We'll plug this in right here. There we go. That's going to plug into my DJI. Second one here, I'm actually going to plug into the tail 2 into that. There we go. Trying to corral these cables so you can still see. So you can see that these two are charging. We've got about 44 watts down here as we go. And then I'll show you the separates in a second here. Next up, we have my Samsung and my Asus. And I got a couple cables here. The Asus has been probably dead for a little while now. I haven't had a chance to really use it for anything. So we will plug that in and try and corral this cable a little bit. There we go. We're now up to 45 watts on here. And now let's plug in the Samsung, and that's charging. We got a red light right there. And then of course this is going to be charging right here. And then last but certainly not least, you saw that just said that it's charging. We're at 60 watts, 57, 60 watts. Now here's the coup de grace. We're going to plug in my MacBook Air like so. You can see we're at 124 watts. So we're halfway there, like the song says. But what we're going to do to kind of coax this a little bit better is we are going to do something a little bit intense on the MacBook Pro. And we're going at about 123, 124 watts. Now, if you had a MacBook and an iPad and a phone, 100, it's not going to get to 123. It's going to be like 65 and 20, something like that. But you'll basically be getting about 100 here. And I'm feeling the device here. It's probably a little bit warmer. Let's connect up to my other Mac, my Mac Mini. Now we have a higher performance thing going on here. I've got my Mac Mini and I've got a couple apps running on this because I really want it to be a slow charge as it's performing, doing other things, and it's at 47%. We've got the device, as you can see, we're hitting about 130. So yeah, I could find another laptop, I could find another device that could actually push that charge, but I wanted to show you it this way. Let's hit the button here. Now we're seeing our first USB is at about 28 watts. Our second one, which is the MacBook Air, is bouncing around 65, 0 to 65. Our third one, which is going to the Samsung, is at a solid 13.5 watts. And then this fourth one, which is my Asus phone right here, that's going at 12.7 watts. We'll go to the USB-A's. They're at 8 and 7, charging the cameras. There's our temperature right there. We're at 32 Celsius. Now, if you want to calculate that, that's basically you double that, so that's 64, add another 32. So now it's about 96 degrees, and I can kind of feel a little bit of warmth from the top here. Probably the bottom will be even warmer than this, but I'm not going to lift this to find out. And then, of course, we got the standby and the charging options. And then if we go into the phone and we go into AOHi, and we call up our charger here, we can see these numbers a little bit better if I focus in on it. About 30 watts on our first one, which once again is the iPad. It's not the MacBook Air. MacBook Air is running about 60 to 65, and I've got that because it's running some extra software on it. I've got the iPad running a little bit more, so we've jumped up on our process. I don't think that's not going to go for long, but you got the MacBook Air right here. We got the C3, which is going to my Samsung. C4 is going to my Asus phone. The first USB-A goes to, I believe, yeah, it goes to the tail 2, and the second one goes to the DJI, which is charging. And I'm guessing in about 20 minutes, these two are, at least this one's going to go down. because it'll be close to fully charged. This will start to go down. And then these other ones we just lost because I didn't have a big file there to really process anything. So it dropped down to 5.2 watts. But you get the idea. We're going to say turbo mode, which means that now we're going to be constant at 28 watts for the iPad, 58 watts for the MacBook Air, and then 7 watts here. That's giving us a total of still we're at 120, bouncing around 120 to 130 watts through the whole device. You can see that there. And then, but that's bringing it from here. We can see that 125. Temperature's at 35 degrees Celsius. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit of heat on the device as we go in. Of course, we're in a temperature controlled room. So if, let's say, it was really hot outside, then that might be a little bit more of a difference here. So, but what we could do something like this. We could take, let's say this is the MacBook Air. Let's say, hey, I don't want to charge that MacBook Air. I'm going to hit OK. And of course, you didn't see that, but the MacBook Air just kind of dimmed down and we went down to a good 64 watts. Now, if I go back up, and I turn that back on. There we go. And I got to log back in. And what's really interesting is I had sharing on the iPad to try and drain the battery, and it reconnected up the sharing and just told me that GarageBand quit. That's okay. So we'll leave that. And we're going to leave that connected up to the two. And I've connected into my MacBook Mini, or my Mac Mini. That's what you're seeing on the screen right here. So, and a total right now is we've got between 100 to 130 watts is jumping back and forth. So there we go. That's with turbo mode. Now we can go to custom mode. We can say the custom settings for automation, and we don't have anything set up here, or we don't have anything recommended. So if, let's say, we want to really prioritize this one, we can do that, and things like that. And of course, that's through all the port control right there. So anyway, that is charging. We'll probably get 100%. Oh, I don't know. It's almost 3 o'clock here, as you can see. So I'm going to let this run, and we're going to see when we can get everything up to 100%. So 30 minutes later, we're looking at that. We're still charging, and everything is still charging to optimal specs. Keep in mind, once things like the MacBook Air starts to end its charge, get to 100%, then it's going to drop off. It's at 86% right now, but it could easily drop off. And when that happens, then all of a sudden, then everything else starts to come into play. This thing, it's a little bit warm, but it's not too bad. The temperature says 49 degrees Celsius. Which is about 132 Fahrenheit. So it's on the high end, but it's still at a point where it can work from there. And we've seen the total output power drop down. The phone's at 41% charged. I see my camera is still at a low end charge of 8.3 watts. And then the DJI is also charging. So everything's still charging, but once this gets to 100%, then this will drop down. Once this gets to 100%, this will drop down, so on and so forth. And then you'll be able to do that. And keep in mind, we're only hitting half of what this GaN Plus can do. And for the most part, on your desktop, you probably got your MacBook, your iPad, your iPhone, or Samsung or Microsoft equivalents right there. You're probably not going to charge anything more than a watch, a tablet, a phone, and a computer. Maybe 2 computers. Maybe if you're like that, that's possible. I could see this on like a desk. I could see this on a desk at a student union or something like that, where people are all charging, like 2 or 3 laptops are charging at the same time, and then you don't have to worry about wall warts, especially when it comes to international plugs, because that's always frustrating when somebody's got this big wall wart and taking up one plug. If they're all USB charged, you can put something like this onto a desktop and then have everybody charged from here that can. And then, yeah, if there's a computer that needs a bigger wart, they can take that plug. It could take 5 of them. And then one of them for this one could charge 4 laptops at the same time. Looking at some of the pros and cons to this, this is a standard charger. This is doing exactly what GaN chargers do. We've got the turbo mode on. If I turned off the turbo mode, this probably would be a little bit cooler. All this would charge a little slower, but you know, that's the give and take when it comes to setting this up. And the best part is the control can be on the phone. So let's say I'm charging everything and then I got to get going. So I go and wherever I can get back on the phone, I can look at the charger and say, hey, I don't need to charge the iPad anymore. Boom, turn that off, turn them all off, and then worry about charging it when I get back. And that's what's pretty cool about this. We still have a firmware update to do on this thing, but I'm pretty sure that it's not going to change much on here. And it's just going to improve the performance of the AOHi as it's working from there. So very impressed. It's very straightforward on what it's doing because it's doing the job. And it's really nice to have on the desk because it looks like a clock, but then you don't have to find the wall plug to plug in your laptop, to plug in your iPad. You just have to have the proper USB-A or USB-C cable to plug it in and charge up what you're doing. That is the AOHi GaN Plus Charger, 280 watts. What do you think of it? Do you have products that you need to have 280 watts for? Let me know in the comments below over at Geekazine.com, YouTube.com/Geekazine, where you can like, subscribe, and of course hit the bell notification so you know when the next video comes out. Till next time, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. You guys geek out and charge on with AOHi. I never said hi at the end of a video. Interesting.